And good morning and good evening if people are joining from elsewhere. And this is our Quantum Pulse session. As you know, in Quantum Pulse, we do a monthly session called Quantum Pulse. And in these sessions, we discuss some quantum-related topics in a certain level of depth. We get the experts here and we go into the details of the topic, whether it's the technology focus that we are discussing or the application of certain solutions and so on. One of the very interesting areas, that is emerging is the synergy between quantum technology, quantum science and technology, and space applications. So there's a lot of synergy between the two sectors, so to say. And this particular Quantum Pulse session is dedicated for that. We have some very good set of panelists with us today, and I'm going to request each of the panelists as we kick off this session to introduce themselves in the context of space. Thank you for joining, and over to you, Anindita.
A very good afternoon to everyone. Hope I am audible.
Yes, you are. Thanks.
Yeah. So I work in space of quantum communication. Earlier, I was working on terrestrial quantum communication, and now my interest is more towards integrated network of terrestrial along with aerial quantum communication, which is actually like a trusted relay towards satellite, or an integrated model where you have interlinked network in a very coordinated they're working in a very in a coordinated fashion. Now, as we know that there are different layers in space, so we need different platforms, starting in the terrestrial, we say fiber-based QKD, and then we go for in the range of about, say, 8 to 10 kilometer, 5 to 8 kilometer. We have drones, and from there we have we go towards high altitude platforms, and then we go towards satellite QKD.
So we'll come to that, Dr. Anindita. If you could just conclude your introduction for now in terms of.
So I'm working on entangled-based communication using between drone to drone. So quantum secure drone communication. Yeah.
Wonderful. Over to you, Adarsh.
Very good afternoon to all of you. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you for having me here, and it's my pleasure to be here among this distinguished panelists. I am Adarsh Jain, and I am working here at Space Application Center, Ahmedabad, which is one of the major center of Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. Majorly, this center is responsible for development of communication payloads, remote sensing payloads, navigation payloads. And I am heading here the Quantum Systems and Technology Division, which is responsible for the system level engineering development and the quantum transmitter, quantum receiver development, and the payload, satellite payloads development for quantum communication, for establishing link between quantum satellites and the ground. And along with that, we are also looking after the establishment of the optical ground stations across some of the locations across country. So this is it. Maybe briefly, this is about me. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Shreyans.
So, hi everyone, I'm Shreyans. I'm the founder of Cosmic, and the essential goal of Cosmic, as others sort of rightly pointed out, is to scale these optical ground station networks, because we realize optical ground stations can give you scale, can give your terrestrial network scale. So the likes of drone-based QKD, right, that can connect terrestrial networks to these drones, and that can also connect to these satellites. And our motive is to give that specific technology that kind of scale, and because it's used in satellite communication and also in quantum communication. And my background is building quantum computers. I built superconducting qubits before. I've scaled quantum photonics networks before, and so has my CTO. And we have built quantum satellites as well. And that is the background that we come at this space with. So thank you.
So Shane, sir, thank you for that. And maybe I can start by asking you, what is your company all about? And in terms of applications, right? I mean, you can also talk about a little bit in terms of where we are in this in the space that you're operating. What really exists today, so to say.
Yeah. So this sort of entire optical communication and a lot of this technology has been working for the past, what, 40, 50 years, but only now are we seeing this being realized at scale. So Starlink is based on laser communication, and but our specific company is focused more on optical ground stations, because we sort of realize that if you can do high data rate transfer between space, you should also be able to do high data rate transfer from space to ground. And that is a key bottleneck that exists in the space tech market. And the underlying way that we got here is because me, my co-founder Rohit Ramakrishnan, we are both quantum physicists. We have trained in quantum computing, quantum photonics networks, and we wanted to build quantum satellites, and which is where we realized that, you know what, for quantum satellites or quantum communication to scale, you need free space optical communication. And free space optical communication enables high data rate throughput, but it also enables quantum communication. And when we talk specifically about quantum communication, then at scale, this has been best done by China, where they've scaled it to almost 12,000 kilometers over 3 continents, Russia, South Africa, and what, Austria, right? And within China itself, they have several hundreds of nodes, which they have a satellite network towards and which they've scaled, right? So we now have our global competitor who have now scaled this secure communication at the largest scale. And we should be catching up to a technology like this, right? And we are also looking at how the United States, Singapore, and the likes of Germany are progressing in this. So DLR, which is the German Space Research Group, has just done a QKD link. Japan also did this in 2015. So we are actively seeing people move towards these secure communication lines through space. And we actually know that when we talk about QKD, because that is the one name that you hear a lot in quantum communication, that to a very good extent, people have perfected QK, which is quantum key. You can do very good quantum key generation inside your rooms. But at the end of the day, if you have to do this as a service, and if you have to do this at scale, then you need to be able to distribute these keys, right? That is inherently in the name. And for you to be able to distribute them, you need these free space optical infrastructure to be able to do that. And that is exactly where we come in and give that technology scale. So, yeah.
So essentially a lot of focus on quantum communications, right?
Yes.
So with that, I will move over to Adarsh. Others, if you can talk about what ISRO is doing overall, and then based on your comfort level, you may go into a deep dive of what your group is doing versus other parts of ISRO from
Okay,
a
so
quantum perspective.
ISRO,
Yeah.
there are so many centers of ISRO. Majorly, like we are at Ahmedabad, other are the URSC, URSC Bangalore, other one is the VSSC. So majorly this space applications at Ahmedabad, we are focusing on the communication and the computing. So initially we started with the quantum communication, maybe some technology demonstration. Back in 2021, we did free space interbuilding demonstration of the quantum key distribution. That was the fully automated setup, and the synchronization was achieved between two terminals using our own navigation system, which is Navik, Indian IRNSSS. So that our own indigenous system. So that was one of its kind. First time fully integrated demonstration was carried out between two buildings. That was around 300-meter apart. And then using, we have not restricted, limited to that extent. Using those key have been generated, quantum keys have been generated between these two buildings. And then using those keys, we have demonstrated like real world application like transfer or encryption of the text data images, as well as we have developed our own two-way video calling app also. With that, we have demonstrated secure video calling using those key between these two terminals. One was, you can say, as a Alice, other one was Bob. And after that, subsequent to maybe after few months, we have collaborated with the Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad. They have provided the entangled photon source. So with that entangled photon source also, we have done in this interbuilding free space demonstration. And then distribution of the quantum entangled photon pairs we have carried out between two buildings, and then BBM 92 protocol we have demonstrated, and then using those keys we have done the same demonstration of the application like image data transfer and the video calling. So that gave us kind of confidence, like we can move ahead, because somewhere you need to start. It was all new. So after reading what, because earlier before 2018 and 17, 18, only when China have proved it, like it is possible to do possible to send the maybe single photons from LEO satellite to ground. It was earlier we could not even to not able to believe like whether it is really possible to transmit the photons and receive at the ground station, because as well as entangled photon to some extent also they have demonstrated. So that gave us the impetus, not only as worldwide, also people have like gained the confidence, like definitely if we want to achieve the larger scales, if we want to achieve the secure key distribution over larger distances, that is the currently only solution, that satellite you have to loop in, so that over the larger distances the key can be distributed. Because over the fiber currently without any repeaters, because currently we do not have any memories and repeaters, so those demonstrations are limited to maybe few tens of kilometer. But if we want to extend this distance to maybe thousands of kilometer, like this panelist Shriyam said, China have already demonstrated maybe few tens of thousand between China and other continents like Africa and Russia and Austria. So so this is, as of currently, it is possible only with the help of satellites, and we can secure. Then we can build our integrated network using uh, satellite to ground, using optical ground stations, and then optical ground stations to multiple nodes can be connected over fiber-based QKD networks. And subsequently, last mile solution, if maybe somebody wants to have some maybe some handset or something, then maybe PQC can also be looped in. So what I see is the like long way, maybe integrated fiber QKD and all those things can coexist, and it will definitely give us the better and secure network. So currently in Space Application Center, we are working towards the development of this satellite payloads like quantum transmitters. We need to have the space qualification, and lots of challenges are there. Maybe subsequently I will discuss those things also. And other one of the other group is working on the device level quantum devices, like they are deterministic single photon sources based on the quantum dots. So they have initiated the development for the generation of the deterministic single photon source. Some other people are working on the this uh, quantum computing related aspects, some new algorithm they are developing for the optimization of the wherever it is required, and they need higher speed and higher computational power. Then they are working towards the optimization of the remote sensing based algorithm, if they can be optimized using quantum computers. And another center in VSSC, this which is Trivandrum, one of my colleague and group is working on the quantum sensors. So they are developing cold atom interferometry. They want to develop the quantum inertial navigation system based on the quantum sensors like gravimeter, and then other kind of applications for, so that they can give us better accuracy and the better in terms of timing and accuracy. And uh, uh, and one of the group has started working on the Rydberg based atom sensors. So currently this is the trend, and currently we have started the development of the leo this leo based satellite payload also. So accordingly lots of small technology developments, because lots of challenges are there. So so many electronics as well as optical aspects, like because this we are working for the integration of the optical communication, because both are optical wavelengths. So optical and quantum both can go hand in hand. So high data rate communication, optical is going to give us the high data rate communication, whereas quantum is going to give us the security. So high data rate secure communication, if we can combine both the wavelengths together, both the are the, at the same optical C band only, both the technologies can be combined together, and we would be able to harness the best of out of both the technologies, because both are line of sight communication, point to point communication. So that's what we are working for, working towards the development of such technologies, space qualified technologies for quant transmitters as well as optics, so that this can be flown in the satellite. And apart from that ground, we are working in association with some of the other vendors, or maybe some we are outsourcing this thing to, so that optical ground station, the optics parts and the electronics parts can be, maybe we can collaborate
Yeah.
someone and we can get it from outside. So
So,
that is all
ISRO is
about the
definitely
ISRO people are doing.
right. So I think ISRO is working on the entire set of possible solutions in quantum in different groups.
Correct, correct.
And if you really look at the breadth of work,
But quantum computing, we are on the algorithm application side, not in the quantum physics side. So because we want to use it for our application, we are not
right,
into the physics part, for
sure, sure.
especially for computing.
Sure. So, but this is interesting to know. I mean, probably this is the sector which is the most impacted by quantum and is going to be leveraging quantum the most. We all talk about BFSI, we talk about healthcare, but truly, I think space is the sector where this is going to be quantum science and technology will be very critical. And right now, we are discussing the current, we'll discuss the future as well. But before that, over to you, Anindita. Please share your thoughts on what you are doing and the kind of where does it fit in the overall context of how things are elsewhere?
Okay. Yeah, I actually work on developing prototypes, quantum technology prototypes from TRL 2 or 3, bringing on table, and then it goes for a use case, industry, or since there are no standards as of yet, so I cannot say a very high TRL level, but in a level where people, a user agency can build confidence, and it brings an understanding on how these devices will be able to solve complex problems. So we work on quantum communication, terrestrial quantum communication. We work on aerial quantum communication, and that is the reason we are having this discussion here. At the same time, since I have come from the quantum information background, we are also looking into exploring quantum machine learning algorithms. And actually, we have started working on the cancer image classification. And then we are also looking forward to build, co-build in a collaborative manner, come up with an indigenous working prototype of a quantum computer. So these are the very interesting areas we are working on. Now, if you would want to talk about the quantum space, which is nothing but where I'm using the principles of quantum mechanics to solve complex problems. And my friend and Dr. Adarsh and Shreyas has very nicely brought out the different areas they are working. So the complex problems can be, particularly we're talking about communication, but these can also be about hyper sensitive measurements in space, right? And also the quantum network. I was particularly interested in aerial communication, because when we're using drones, we are actually bringing in we are bringing maneuverability, reconfigurability, an agile quantum network, a trusted trusted quantum relay to visualize all time, all area coverage, integrated global quantum network. So this is our direction. So I was actually motivated by one of the research papers which came from Nanjing University, and now Ohio is also working. And whenever I'm talking to some of the international partners, this looks like a very interesting use case. Also, there is a mandate for migration to post-quantum cryptography by 2035. So when we are working on these drone models, we are also introducing the element of quantum PQC. So if there is a denial of service or weather condition, something happens, then the continuity still is there based on PQC. We work prototypes. Reena, madam, I think you must be aware by now, there are two models of QKD. One is entanglement based, and the other is prepare and measure based. So we are working on both the models, and prepare and measure based model is actually, we should be able to show you some demonstrations this year. Entanglement model comes with a greater challenge, particularly the tracking problem, the quantum tracking of the light. So and that so that is an interesting problem, because many of the demonstrations which has happened in our country are even if it is an entanglement setup, it's actually two nodes where you have the transmitter and the receiver at one end, and the other receiver on the other end, and all the engineering challenges are not addressed. So in order to understand and address the challenges, in order to understand the success of the demonstrations which has happened globally, and to if you go deeper, you will understand that these devices have a lot of optical losses within the device itself. Leave apart the turbulence, or leave apart the medium of propagation, the wavelength, the type of QKD we are doing. But there's a lot of intrinsic losses and noises which happens. So what are they? So that was motivating for us to identify them and to address them properly. QKD itself is a device. No, I mean it's a multi-layered device, starting from the quantum hardware. Then you have the analogs, and you have the electronics. Then you have the the code, the system, the system. I would say. So there's a software stack riding on that quantum hardware. I don't see much of a difference between the architecture of a QKD and a quantum computer, because it also starts from a quantum hardware to the computer's communication engine, to the different application layers, and then finally to the application layer. So this stack has to be properly addressed, so that eventually we go for bringing together all the prototypes which has been developed in India, from ISRO, RRI, IIT Delhi. There are many startups also. So we can also, even through this platform which you have given, I think if we can have our own test bed, because there are so many internal players and there are products in the market. So, it will be very nice to have such kind of, if we can go towards such kind of a test bed in India, because we have been trying to pitch, if we can put our innovations, our prototypes to the global market or global test bed. But I think if we all come together, there are so many people who are doing so many wonderful things, and we have had already some prototype demonstrations. So that I think we should be able to take that part as.
Yeah, I think the conversation on a test bed has been happening for some time. And it is not just in QKD, but even on the application side, sort of having a test bed would be very useful for computing too. A very valid point, and it is, very direly needed, that is for sure. In general, I wanted to ask all of you, right? I mean, whoever wants to answer this, when you generally look at the various kind of solutions uh, which are being proposed for quantum and space, there one which often comes up is about satellite synchronization. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that is just something that has been tried anywhere? And secondly, is it something that is going to be useful? I understand that use of atomic clocks and quantum communication is going to be the key to delivering such a solution. What are your thoughts on that?
Madam, can you please come again on the question? I'm not able to hear properly.
So
Is
I
it on
think,
the top?
yeah, when we look at the international, list of solutions that are being talked about for quantum in space, one thing which comes up regularly is two things. One is distributed QKD, for sure, which
Yes.
is more like
Yeah.
an underlying solution. It's a technology solution. But then when we discuss what applications could be there for satellites, satellite synchronization comes up as a topic as well. Now, so any comments, viewpoints on what exists, even comments on the technology, any thoughts on this from any of you?
Uh,
Just a
I,
quick word here. Sorry, Shreyans, just maybe because
mm,
things are happening. Just two sentences here. There are US and Europe are actually moving very fast in that direction, and there are atomic clocks. They use ultra precise timing devices on the satellites already, but even deep space atomic clock for interplanetary.
Uh, I think uh, I I think we lost Dr. Anandita.
I think there was a synchronization error.
Yeah, ma'am, you are muted.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry
she's
for
back.
that. I
She's back.
think, Shayans,
Yeah.
maybe you can continue in the
Yes,
meantime.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I
Please,
will
please go
also
ahead.
like to maybe comment if the whatever your question was related to the synchronization between different satellite, because during navigation usually we use constellation of the satellites, like
Right.
GPS using kind of 24 satellites, and our own indigenous navigation system, which is Navik, or you can say IRNSS, we are using around 8 satellite in the geo orbit. So currently what we do, the synchronization is this extremely important part to give the precise location, because all the satellite ground receiver has to use signal from at least 4 to 5 satellites to predict the accurate, to give the accurate estimation of the position. So
Mm-hmm.
currently the synchronization between satellite is being happening through the ground station. So ground we are uplinking some data and we are providing synchronization. But definitely in future people are talking about the synchronization through the optical communication. So satellite to satellite we can have optical inter-satellite link. So that may not be required to be of high data rate, maybe some kilobits per second, kbps kind of data needs to be transferred. It's going to be some time information. So between one satellite to other satellite, because their clocks are different. So each satellite is going to have atomic clock, which is extremely precise. But that information, because there is no reference time is available, all the satellites are having their own clock, but some kind of time information they need to share. If they could do it in space, then there is no need to do it through ground. So definitely they will be able to quickly share the information among themselves, and fastly we would be able to do it more precisely. So optical communication at lower rate can be used to do the time transfer, and that definitely there are so many people and people are planning to have those kind of small optical terminal on the satellite, so that this time can be transferred. And I don't know optic quantum, I don't feel there kind of any security, because optical itself is a highly directive system on like maybe space and space. So I don't think any kind of quantum security is needed, but definitely it can be added. But optically itself is going to give us the securely, it would be able to transfer the time information from one satellite to other satellite.
Yeah.
I think there may be
Thank
varying
you.
opinions on the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
security aspect of that. And there is a company called Pramatra Space whom we had invited today. They were actually traveling and they didn't join in, but they work on distributed QKD in space. So right now they are testing their prototype, and I think so. Thank you for explaining that very clearly in terms of how synchronization is relevant. Shreyas, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think your question might not have been communicated well here, but there are two aspects to this. How do you say this? Using quantum information to do synchronization, right? One is the optical way, optical atomic clock way, where you have very sophisticated atomic clocks on satellites which do your time synchronization, right? But there have been very successful demonstrations of using entangled photons to do time synchronization. So I think that is where you were coming at things with, where you can use entangled photons to do time
No, I
synchronizations,
came
right?
with an open question for
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
because there
yeah,
are
yeah.
multiple
Yeah,
answers to the
exactly,
question.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Go
So,
ahead.
so these are two ways where you can use quantum technologies to have time synchronization. Now, the entangled way has been demonstrated over what, 20 kilometers by a University of Chicago group and a startup. So MEMQ is a startup based out of University of Chicago, and they did this over 16 kilometers where they do time synchronization using entangled photons. Now, that is one proposition of using GPS-free time sync, because see, no shade to others, but uh, we have seen that Navik has not scaled at the right pace, which the nation might have wanted, right? So when we are looking at that Navik constellation, we want that kind of uh, parallelity to Baidu or GPS, right? And when we don't have that, then we might want to look at different ways of doing this time synchronization. And so entangled photons are one way, but entangled photons from space is a very hard way to do things. So even China, they started doing entangled photons from space in Mission 1, but their all future satellites were based on polarization, because entanglement from space does not scale, and it's very hard to scale that. And if you want to actually do it on scale, polarization is a better bet, which is where the prepare and measure state, as Anandita ma'am mentioned, comes into play, right? So there are other aspects of doing time synchronizations where we should be doing indigenous optical clocks, which we were not doing before, right? So the last Mavic that went up had an indigenous clock, and that was a great feat of achievement for the country. And I wish we can have more and more of such clocks go up in the sky. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open up a slightly different question. I think since the space sector is opening up in a big way, there are across the world, there are many futuristic missions that are on the blueprint, right? And have been announced by certain countries, and other things are on the blueprint of many countries. So more international space stations, mission to moon, people on the moon, maybe some experiment place settlement on the moon for doing experimentation and so on, and travel to Mars, see what is there. All of these are, no longer hypothetical things. They are very well defined plans that are underway across the world. Now, when we look at the progress that is we are seeing on the quantum sensors, communication, and even on the compute side, and we look at the progress that is happening in the space area in terms of the plans that are there for the future. And while we look at these two things, we have another important data point to consider. The important data point is that as we are developing more of the quantum technology, there is an impetus to get more, discover more on the science side. And of course, with all of this, given the areas that you are working on, where do you see the future in the next 10 years or 15 years, whatever is the right time scale for some of these missions that we are talking about, right? What do you think is the role that quantum is going to play? And you can use your imagination a little bit. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate because we are projecting a little bit, but we have enough science and technology progress to leverage to make an informed projection of the nature of the technology evolution that may happen in that space. So who wants to go first? I mean, I'm going to open it up.
I think I can comment on this.
Okay, yes.
I would say that you sort of start out with the quantum sensors at scale. So you're already seeing that being deployed, where you have magnetometers, gravimeters, which are being developed and them being deployed at scale, because that is actually going to help you do very good measurements. And to a very good extent, quantum sensors are immature TRL6, TRL7 technology, right? Even in the country and internationally. So you can look at more field deployments of these. And that will be relevant for things on Earth, and that will be relevant for things on Moon and Mars, because you want to see mineral deposits. You want to see what we are sensing in a better manner, right? So first would be the advent of quantum sensors and them being at scale. And parallelly, you would see, I would say, optical communication scale. And then where there is a need for ultra secure communication is where you will see quantum communication play at large. So that is where I see the advent going. In terms of quantum computing, I don't actually see a synergy between quantum computing and space in the very near future. But yeah, that's my viewpoint.
Okay, that's interesting. So we'll come back to computing later. Anybody who wants to comment on computing and also share their viewpoint? Dr. Anindita,
So,
Dr. Adarsh?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just, since you mentioned the duration of 10 to 15 years, so what I would most likely we will be seeing is a national test bed with integrated quantum communication capabilities, perhaps a satellite, QKD satellite as well. But there will be definitely, because there are players in the ecosystems, both in industry, R&D, and academia. So this should be possible. Regarding quantum computing, see, again in national ecosystem, we have one player, Artificial Brain, who works on space applications, quantum space applications from the computing side. Even NASA's quantum AI lab, they're also working on exploring applications of quantum algorithms in space, which can be something like mission planning, scheduling, deep space networks. It can be, tracking the space debris. That is one of the critical problem which is happening in the space right now. So those things can be whatever is a complex problem. I think that can be addressed using. I should not also say only quantum algorithms, but a integrated quantum AI model getting executed on a on an integrated supercomputer having quantum as an accelerator. Because again, in 10, 15 years, I see that happening as per the NQM's mission. I do not know, please correct me if I'm wrong, then Honeywell was talking about commercial QKD satellite network. Okay, so if not a QKD, which is still under some discussion, so we are crossing 2035. So definitely some quantum layer of protection will be there. So a quantum satellite network can also be a quantum entanglement network. And as my co-panelist will agree that it could enable sensors, the quantum entanglement satellite network would also enable sensors, quantum sensors, high precision synchronization. Then it will also help in integration with the quantum computers in the base stations via different layers, as I had mentioned. So I see a lot of things happening. QETCI, our national quantum mission, and you are there in the ecosystem as well, to pull all of us together. So I think it's very bright and beautiful.
Thank you. Adarsh, your viewpoint?
Yeah, I would also like to add, I would just like to touch upon the communication part because other things have already covered and Anandita ji has also mentioned. So, rest of the world, one is China and other countries, rest of the world. So we'll try to catch up with the China, what they have demonstrated. They have beautifully demonstrated the network architecture also, and it is integrated with the satellite and many terrestrial node and real world application. They have connected it to the financial transaction system, some of the banks. So real world applications also they have demonstrated through their network. So what I would see like under the national quantum missions also, we are also grading up in this field. There are so many other four verticals. So communication over the period of maybe 10 to 12 years, we would be able to demonstrate like at least some satellite-based quantum communication network over country and with the few, maybe two optical ground stations. And then some of the terrestrial-based, fiber-based network we have already demonstrated. So I feel we would be able to connect those, some of the maybe application oriented node we would be able to connect over that network, like some of the banking hubs, then between some of the cities, and then we would be able to connect the optical ground station that is linking with the satellite, and then optical ground station we will be able to connect with that hub, with that fiber based hub. So integrated, maybe we will be able to demonstrate. Other one is the com computing also. Between if you want to do the quantum internet, so then currently we are not able to communicate between two nodes of the quantum computers. So let it be maybe 8-bit, but then maybe quantum teleportation we need to develop, like if we want to communicate to share the information between one quantum computer to other quantum computer, because quantum internet you have to talk between multiple nodes of the quantum computer. So we would be able to demonstrate at least between two or maybe finite number of nodes. I'm not talking about the number of bits, let it be limited to 8 bits, but first of all we need to demonstrate the capability, like multiple nodes are talking over the like photonic communication between these multiple nodes. So that kind of demonstration I'm expecting, like maybe in collaboration, so many industries are participating in computing and then network architecture. So that I see like definitely we would be able to demonstrate within India also these kind of things.
So actually, my question was not specific to India. And one thing from an Indian perspective also, I want to share my perspective on why we should look at India's progress slightly differently. And the reason is around 4 years ago, we had nothing in the ecosystem. We had only research institutes who had been working on quantum for quite some time, a little over 4 years ago. And if you look today, and of course, we had rare companies like Kuno Labs, which had been formulated like 8 years ago, and so on. And some new companies had started coming up at that time. Today, if you look in 4 years where India has reached, I don't think it has been catching up at the rate at which the original technology development has happened. It was a leapfrog effect, more so to say. Because today we have, 2 years ago, there were no quantum sensing companies in the ecosystem. And today we have quantum sensing companies with prototypes and deployable solutions coming up, right? So this kind of progress is a very different format. So first of all, I think all of you have underestimated, in my opinion, where India would be in the next 10 years and 15 years. Now, coming back to the original question, let's say if we have, for example, access as humanity, if we, and this is already happening, but if there is more capacity to have labs in space stations, with new space stations programs getting launched in the future, and with some opportunity to do experiments on the moon, isn't this going to open up a completely new era of experimentation on the physics side, leveraging quantum physics, and impact something on the application side as well, right? So I would see space as an enabler of quantum as well, in that sense, right? Because when you deal with fundamental particles and you want to see their behavior, having some opportunity to do those kind of experiments in an environment where you don't have the kind of noise that you have on Earth is supposed to give you certain opportunities to do certain kinds of experiments, right? So I think there may be a feedback effect of science, the technology from space to the development of quantum technology also, right? So in that context, and when we look at how would you look at the need for communications, right? For example, uh, when we have a large number of satellites, because everybody seems to be in a race for sending satellites and the number of satellites is already very large. As more and more, now Africa is also developing its own space program. Different nations around the world are developing their own space program. So what will happen to the number of satellites? Is it going to pose certain challenges? When you talked about optical solutions, line of sight solutions and stuff like that. So I think there are going to be questions on how some of these, what kind of new technologies will be useful. Also, how do you communicate to the moon base, right? How do you send a lot of data, let's say experimental data, back and forth? So is there a role that quantum is going to play in all of that?
Uh, this related to that deep space communication, as you have mentioned, let us say we start with the moon. So definitely quantum at the ground station is going to play definitely very important role, because whatever data we are transmitting, it's not like high volume data, but at least maybe because distance is very large. If we want to do the RF communication, it is definitely kind of unrealistic to do the RF communication over RF frequency, because we don't have that much. We have to use this much larger antennas and very extremely high power in maybe kilowatts. But if we think about the optical communication, because it's a that at that side we are going to use the power of this optical communication, because it's a point to point communication, because we want to do the point to point communication. It's a highly directive, so definitely it is going to save us lots of power, and the footprint is also in terms of mass size, it is going to be very compact. So even if we are able to transmit the megabits of the data, but at the ground, same time we need to use the extremely high sensitive, maybe single photon detectors can also be used, because those are limited in terms of data rate. But we are not talking about few megabits per second of the data rate. If the data rate is limited to that extent, so that way, quantum technology, like single extremely high SNSPD detectors are there. Those are already in reality. So a single photon detector, semiconductor nanowire single photon detectors at optical C-band frequency definitely can be used. And I think NASA, one of the NASA's mission already, LADI experiment from moon, they have already demonstrated this thing. So from moon they could be this satellite towards moon could be able to transmit the data at optical frequencies, and at ground they use extremely high kind of quantum detectors, and they could be able to communicate receive the data in megabits per second at that data rate, which is not at all realistic if we do with the uh, RF communication. So optical uh, data rate with the combination of the quantum receiver technology, definitely it can be going to be used for the future deep space communications.
Okay, sure. Any thoughts from you, Shreyans, on that?
So I think Adarsh is completely right. Like in terms of communication protocol, we might not see a reality of quantum like QKD coming into that play, but having those right kinds of detectors that are enabled by ancillary quantum technologies is very relevant because you get to that finer regime, you get to that finer resolution that you're only able to get in the quantum regime, right? And that is how you can actually see not daily day devices, but like very specific devices that are from like offshoots of quantum technologies. So superconducting nanowires were never just specifically used for this detection, but we saw that how some relevant technology enabled this, right? So this is what's going to happen. And in terms of space station, we are already seeing the ISS have a significant amount of magnetometers, gravimeters, and that should also be the goal for the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, right? Because we are already seeing the likes of China deploy very sophisticated measurement techniques on their space station. So it's very good that we are having our own space station where we can probe this fundamental science because it is essential to probe this fundamental science at microgravity. Yeah.
Right. Uh, Anindita, Dr. Anindita?
Yeah, I think I agree with the way Shreyans and other chef put it. So I think nothing more to say. But yeah, I strongly believe that, while developing these technologies, quantum communication, fine. But then, when we are developing the indigenous prototypes of technology, which we are developing, which eventually will come out as a more, um, I would say, better or suitable potential candidates. Yeah, to
Your voice is breaking up a bit. Okay. So I actually have a very interesting thought. I was around 5, 6 years ago. I was attending a VC, or what was a meeting organized by a European VC for cutting edge companies across the world. And I happened to be an invitee as a technology expert. And in that meeting, there was one Chinese company, which was, and I'm talking about 6, 7 years ago, right? Maybe 8 years ago, which was working on, their focus was to do asteroid mining. So that company was formulated 7, 8 years ago, and their focus was asteroid mining, and they were developing the technology which would enable the whole end-to-end thing of like actually, uh, you know, taking something to space, a rocket which is able to take everything, go back, mine, bring it back, and stuff like that. And they were very clear that this is long term. It is not something which is being developed as a short-term technology. By looking at the way space, they were projecting how space is expanding, space technology is expanding, and the future of space looks a certain way. So what are the kind of these uh, associated industries that could develop? Now, when we have so much of quantum and space, which is going to enable certain other technological advancements, I think it's important as an ecosystem for us to look at this very specifically and say, with this kind of quantum AI, uh, you know, biotech advancements that we are looking at, quantum sensor advancements that we are looking at, and the space sector itself expanding in a very big way with long-term plans, what are the associated industries that are likely to come up? And I have one more example of this. There was a few years ago, there was this NASA had conducted an exercise or a competition for people to develop materials and create a habitat, 3D printed habitat of a material which would allow for 3D printing, but will also be conducive and be able to be stable and protect the people inside in an environment like Mars. So here you have so many considerations to take, right? And in terms of the kind of radiation that is coming in, what is the environment looking like, what all do you need to install in that habitat for it to be livable? And they had opened it up. It's like a crowdsourced, it was not, I mean, it was a challenge across the country, or maybe it was open to people outside also. and they discovered somebody won a prize, and then they discovered that that material was something which would be very useful in certain scenarios on Earth as well. So here we are trying to say that, the number of dots that can be connected across may be too many, right? And there may be many opportunities for cross advancement in multiple sectors. So, any thoughts on that? And of course, this is all good material for startups to think about. That is definitely one thing. But any thoughts on that line, right, in terms of what we should be doing?
I think, right now only you mentioned that there are a lot of startups in Indian ecosystem. Some 4 to 5 years back, there was one or two. That's how we started. And now there are more than 50. And Pramatra is, one of the such examples. But then at the same time, when we're talking about these startups, of course, there are a lot of gaps if one can identify, and there are a lot of scope to do work on that. But you need labs as well. You need those equipments, test labs. Unless and until you provide that, how such deep tech startups survive, or how will they grow? Or we associate them with some R&D organizations. There are several things which has to be addressed. See, this is an exciting world. A lot of new things can happen. We are seeing that many things. As and when we are speaking, you and me know that there are so many US and European projects. They are funding each and every. They are spending energy on each and every problem statement, right from development to standardization to providing test bed to making a prototype network in space. So unless such an ecosystem is there, it is difficult.
We lost you, Anindita. Maybe you could try switching off the video and speaking. I think there's a bandwidth issue. Dr. Anindita? We are unable to hear you. We recommend you switch off the video. Can you speak now, please, to check? We can't hear you. Okay, she'll join back. I think Dr. Anindita raised a very valid point that, and she's back. Let her complete it. Please switch on the video, Anindita, so that I can bring you here.
Ma'am, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. So please complete what you were saying.
Yeah,
You said
I was just
saying
trying to say that.
ecosystem. Yeah.
Just trying to say that unless there is a supporting ecosystem in terms of funding different challenges, as you can see in US and Europe. I mean, they're launching such massive programs on developing components and subsystems for space testing and evaluation for space QKD, supporting development of prototype satellite QKD satellite networks. So unless such things are there, and as well as the startups, the deep tech startups have access to those labs where we are talking about, talking about the materials for space. So there is huge scope, and since the quantum computers are also, building, the ecosystem can leverage those systems and devices. We are also so a lot can happen, but basically we have to nurture and support and provide the right ecosystem to the dreamers, so that it can be enabled.
Yes, very well said. And one of the things when you said ecosystem, what struck me was that when we developed the quantum value chain framework in QETCI, when we were mapping the quantum ecosystem in India, we had identified space as an allied sector. And one of the reasons we are having this conversation is because there is a two-way dependency on the sector, right? And what we are realizing as more time is passing, semiconductor technology and electronics manufacturing are all allied sectors. And one of the things that we are realizing is that we need to go deeper into some of these allied sector ecosystems to identify these kind of things that you're saying, or labs which may be cross-sectional, right? Or requirements that may be not emerge if only the sector is looking at it, but when you have two sectors putting their heads together, then suddenly there are new opportunities, new requirements that are going to come forward, and there is probably a need to focus on those as well. So I think the work ecosystem, sort of brought that thought, uh, and I think that's very valid and relevant. One of the other questions which I want to put on the table is that what do you think can be the role of collaboration? We've already discussed sector-specific collaboration to some extent, but what could be the role of collaboration bilaterally or multilaterally that could be beneficial for countries in this scenario and beneficial for industry as well? I think since we have startup representation here as well. So, any thoughts on what are the scenarios where things could be mutually beneficial in this sector?
So I would just say for you to develop anything that is quantum and space-based, it's fairly expensive. And we know it takes time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes years to get things up in space. And when you have these kinds of multilateral or bilateral collaborations, it helps both of these countries to cut cost. And when I say cut cost, it just means you both benefit from this ambitious mission that you're driving. And everybody doesn't have to solve the problem by their own, right? If we are moving towards this global economy, then it is better to work with the right kinds of partners so that you're able to have technologies fruition at the right kinds of scale. And so, for example, right, if China was willing to share this QKD technology to us, then we would have had these optical ground stations at scale. We would have been part of that quantum network, but they plan to share this with Russia. They plan to share this with Africa and Austria. So those were the countries that were able to benefit from this multilateral collaborations, which is why it is essential for India to have the right kinds of either European or American or Southeast Asian partners to have this built out multilaterally so that your cost is less, you learn a lot more, and you learn a lot faster. Yeah.
Right. I think we have to also keep in mind that quantum is a dual purpose technology, and I think collaborations and um, combined projects are very dependent on the geopolitical situation as well, right? But I think all those
Just
points are
I
very,
would like
very valid. Yeah, go ahead, Adarsh.
I would also like to add, like what Shreya told, what I feel, whatever Chinese have collaborated is mainly with the this academia, maybe mainly with all the universities. Like there is a university in China which is responsible for this demonstration. They have collaborated with Austrian university with the that Nobel laureate. I forgot his name. Other one is South Africa recent demonstration that was also related with the university only. So I don't think like if we maybe as a startup, if we want to collaborate with one of the startup or those companies, I don't think like the government, any political or geopolitical hurdle would come into. So
Okay.
what this is what I feel like
No, that's
maybe
not
as a
true. That's not true. If because QKD is a quantum security technology today, so it is definitely going to be on the radar of if there is a collaboration happening on QKD, it has to
But ma'am,
be.
it's not like we are not doing like we are not deploying it for the industry. It's just a basic demonstration. Like if we are able to develop one optical ground station and then we can pitch into maybe one satellite is up there, like Chinese satellite is up there, and we can accordingly we need to fine tune some of the parameter of our maybe electronics or certain protocol, and then if they would be able to beam towards our optical ground station, then definitely it is possible. It's just one kind of demonstration. It's not like we are they are leaking some of the information. It's just a basic, maybe academic kind of experiment, but it is going to
So
give us so much
academia
exposure.
partnerships, yeah, academic partnerships do happen, right? I think what
Ah,
you're saying is fair enough. I mean, at the research
because
level,
nowhere government is involved, whatever Chinese, because that is
I
also a
would I would
university,
not
whatever.
focus, I would not over focus on China and make a more generic statement that research to research collaboration should be encouraged across the world, and more such partnerships should be created so that these
Ah,
kind of
right.
demonstrations can become simpler to do, right?
And this is
So,
not only
See,
specific to this field with all the field within India, this is kind of limited. So even if we talk about other fields also, if you see the academia and the industry, like university and industry, there is a definitely a gap between the collaboration and the kind of information sharing and kind of knowledge sharing. So definitely the gap is there within India also. We need to bridge that gap. So we should have more and more opportunities to discuss with the industries, like whatever research labs are there within some university, we should be able to have maybe some projects we can do and we can sponsor, or we can gain more knowledge out of it. So
So
definitely it is needed in India.
So
sure,
I
and of
would,
course, it is. There are a lot of good examples. I think ISRO is the best example of how research technology from ISRO has been made available to startups, right? To made public for startups to come and bid and actually take the technology forward. That is, in fact, for quantum, I actually went and met somebody from ISRO to understand that mode of technology transfer and what are the processes they follow, because that is the benchmark, right, in terms of how technology transfer can happen from a government entity opened up to the startups, right? So I think you are right. I think in terms of the collaboration needs, definitely industry academia collaboration has to improve because quantum is very research oriented,
Yeah,
right?
ma'am.
So
So
definitely there
some
has to
other
be.
than quantum, wherever we got developed the expertise, definitely there is a method to transfer the technology. So so many technologies have been transferred through there is a channel, but quantum also, it's not like as of at this stage it's not transferable, because first you need to demonstrate something, you need to prove yourself, then comes the technology transfer.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yes, go ahead, Anindita. Everybody's smiling now. Yeah.
Now, see, I would like to address one challenge in industry academia or R&D academia collaboration. And the reason is, see, the know-how of this technology happens once you start working on it. So it cannot be any random, or I'm not disrespecting anyone. But but it cannot be anyone. Just you have to know the technology. First, it's quantum. You have to understand and read about superposition, entanglement. You need to have hands on this technology. As I just told you, know that even if a QKD device, it has so many different layers. Okay, and its quantum is very small and but very neat and fragile. Rest all of it is state of art classical. So some many people come and say that, how much quantum do I need to learn if I want to contribute? Actually, zero quantum, you should know your area very well, because I will be needing state of art, very good hands, very good minds, in something which can complement the activity which we are doing. So the issue is, whenever we are trying to talk to any academia, uh, since they don't work in this area, so they are not able to directly help or come out with some meaningful. So first they would like to experiment, understand. So that takes time. So maybe government can create those hubs and infrastructures where students can go, or researchers can go, or they buy some equipments where they will have a quantum source in their lab, some quantum measurement instrument in their lab, through which they can meaningfully contribute. Otherwise, I think where you do not need you need only your brain as the computing applications. There you are not dependent on the technological growth. Okay, so you have simulators, you can work well with simulators. I still don't understand, why do I need thousands when we struggle really to find out a good application with 50 qubits or 30 qubits also. So simulations can be done. I think that is where the challenge lies in collaboration. So we should
Mhm.
leverage and we should expand. For example, Adarsh has a fantastic lab. CDOT has a fantastic lab. CDAC, we are developing these labs. So, these are the infrastructures where the nearby colleges can leverage. They can come visit. They can do some internship work. The startups are there. Even if I think if you ask Shreyans also, the kind of work he's talking about, it needs an infrastructure. So how do we help each other in the ecosystem? So there are so many things which we have to address if you would want to solve this problem.
Right.
yeah,
Sure.
I think I see, I'm a product of whatever everybody here has talked about, right? I'm literally a academic lab that has spun off into a startup and is using academic, how do I say this, resources, the likes of IISc and the infrastructure that IISc has built to enable my startup and to bridge that gap between academia, the government, and all of these things. So I think I understand this a little deeply because the infrastructure, the academic infrastructure has helped me get here. So I would actually, to everybody listening here, is to please study hard, focus on the right subjects, and get into very good colleges. Because when you get into these kinds of institutes, you get the kinds of hands-on knowledge that Anandita ma'am is talking about that enables you to do very hard technology. And through working on these very hard technologies, you get to a point where you are able to collaborate with the likes of others at SAC, where, you know what, if I am building optical ground stations, then maybe when he sends a quantum satellite up in the sky, we can do some measurements together. Right. And it is enabled by this larger infrastructure that has been built by the likes of IISc. Multiple professors over years have spent their time, and grad students who live right around you, who you can actually converse and talk about these relevant problems. So give that time, give that energy to the right kinds of skill set development, and you will end up in places where you will get these kinds of resources that will enable you to form startups, to collaborate with the likes of governments, and to collaborate with the likes of national labs like Anandita ma'am's.
Right. So, any students in the audience, I think that's pretty good advice.
I would also like to give one quick advice. Like it's a multidisciplinary field. So even if you have no experience, if you don't want to go to quantum, don't there is
Yeah.
no need to have understanding of that field. There are so many other fields also in this. You can contribute as a quantum, like optical ground station, optics. So even if you have done the optical engineering, definitely it is going to be useful for the establishment of the optical ground station, because we are having very few universities who give these courses on the optics design, because the telescope design, mirror design, it's a very complex thing, but hardly any students and hardly any people are passing out from the universities. Only very
Yeah.
few courses are available.
Yeah.
So we are running short of this kind of skills. Coming to the
Right.
electronics, even if you are having analog electronics, digital electronics, FPGAs, you can definitely contribute. You don't have to worry about quantum mechanics at all. I am
Yeah.
also from the electronics and communication background, so there is nothing like you should not have. Some of the people are having phobia with the quantum. Even if you are expert in other fields, definitely you would be very useful in this field. So just
Sure. And I
just
think that brings us to the point that the government of India recognized that need, which you all just highlighted, and the pool elective, the minor program that has been set up for quantum is open to all disciplines, and it has been very well laid out. The subjects are of such a nature that if somebody is from electronics and wants to do a minor in quantum computing or just in quantum overall with many subjects that they can pick up, then it is possible today, and that actually gives a very good opportunity. And some of the colleges have already started with the minor this year program this year. Others will be starting next year, I think. So there's a great opportunity on that. With this, I would like to open up the questions to the people who are listening. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and unmute yourself. First raise your hand, and when I call out your name, please unmute and ask the question. Any questions?
Yeah, not this side.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Question to others, you're talking about some applications you're running in your domain specific area. So I'm very keen to know what kind of platforms you are actually looking at, or maybe even using some platforms. Or in future, you have something on a wish list. Maybe using something on the cloud right now, but maybe looking forward to something if it was there available in the country.
sir, good afternoon, sir. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Sir, this
Same.
platform, I am not much clear. Maybe cloud lead, because we are having the ISRO's network is kind of restricted. We usually are having
No,
our own cloud.
I'm talking about the
Uh,
applications, whatever algorithms and applications are running. I'm talking about the quantum computing platforms.
okay. Uh, So quantum computing currently, based on the some of the generic quantum machine learning algorithm, we have just started working on those aspects, and some of the readily available algorithm we are trying to simulate in our applications oriented. Like one is the remote sensing group. So there people are using those algorithms to see like image processing, how those algorithm can be fit into the image processing and things can be made in a better way. So one of the field.
You're using simulators, or you started using real life quantum computers. Like
They
it could,
they did some of the hands-on with this IBM which Qiskit is available kit. So with
okay.
that they did some of the hands-on on that cloud,
Mhm,
and some D-Wave is also available. D-Wave quantum computer
mhm.
is also available. With that also they did some hands-on. So
Analog.
uh, exactly, I need to check with them
Okay,
what
okay.
is their future plans. So
Sure, sure.
I think
currently I will
this
not
would
be
be a
able
good
to comment at
offline
this moment.
conversation
Yeah, yeah.
to
Okay,
definitely
thanks.
follow up on. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Manoj Narang, you
Yeah, my
you had a
question,
question?
yes, my question to the panel is, what role can AI ML play in the field of quantum and space in near future, maybe next 2 years?
And could you introduce yourself a little bit? What do
Yeah,
you do?
yeah, I am Manoj. I am a software engineer, and I am currently taking some courses in space technology and artificial intelligence and quantum also. So I just wanted to know that how can the combination of AI, space technologies, and quantum computing work together in near future? Thank you.
Any thoughts?
I think I have mentioned that see, we have to look into the problem classes which the quantum algorithms are usually being explored for. For example, the optimization problem, the factorization problem. Then, of course, AI and ML are used. ML is used there. We say quantum AI. So there are we have to identify the problems in space. For example, I mentioned about the debris tracking, then scheduling problem, then optimize the mission planning problem. So these are the computationally hard problems. So we have to understand the level of hardness and what and whether that problem statement can um, will fit under the BQP class or under those classes, problem complexity classes, which a quantum computer will be able to solve it in polynomial time, or will be more accurate than an AI result. So we have to. It's basically problem driven, the nature of problem, and what is the nature of problem which the quantum computer can solve. So one can look into those. And that is in that direction only quantum artificial brain is doing a very good job in I think they are working on tracking debris. If you visit their website, you will get some good white paper on that. So that may be a starting point for you to explore more.
Thank you.
I think there are also space applications. Yeah, so debris is one good example. But wherever in the space there is use of AI, quantum can better that in certain scenarios where there's a lot of data and classification can be done better through quantum. So it is possible to explore newer kind of solutions in that space as well. And when we talk about space, it's not just space technology, even for space research like astronomy and other areas also, where there is a lot of data crunching required. There have been examples of projects which are now using quantum along with AI. So, any other questions?
Hello,
Yes.
am I audible?
Yes, who's this? Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. So yeah, my name is Kiran, and I'm the founder and CEO of Data2Key. So Data2Key is an AI-powered data analytics platform. So like I need to know how we can simplify the overall data analytics, data pre-processing, data cleaning process, also visualizations kind of thing. So is there any algorithm or techniques that we can utilize this quantum computing?
So, Kiran, that is a very loaded question. Quantum and AI is a topic by itself, and you're asking us to basically give you the summary of that topic in an answer. I would
No, no,
recommend that, yeah.
no. I'm not asking to which specifically how we can utilize in future aspects that I'm asking.
So yes, it is not future. Even currently, wherever there is a lot of data involved, for classification purposes, so there are many ways in which quantum and AI can work together. One of the most popular uses these days is to be able to find better classification through quantum and then do the deep learning using that classification and then use that deep learning system. Then there are other mechanisms as new algorithms are being worked on. There are other mechanisms of how data can be dealt with. As of now, we haven't seen scenarios for data cleaning per se, but who knows in the next, because this is an area of evolving efforts and a lot of new research. So there may be new opportunities new areas where this could work. And when I said that this is a complex area, I mean that today, just like at a time, people were learning about, deep learning, and a lot of you have to spend some time learning it. Similarly, if somebody wants to understand this area as to how they can leverage it with respect to data, I think there's a lot of quantum algorithms that have to be studied to be able to understand how they can work along with AI. Sorry, I mean it's uh, it's a very broad answer, but that's what we have right now. Yes, Siddharth, what's the question from your side?
Hi everyone out here. I've been really closely following all the topics that
So, like, there is no utilizations of as of now quantum computing to integrate in our analytics platform or analytics algorithm.
Pure analytics, no, but if you're doing some machine learning, deep learning, etc., then yes, there is.
Okay.
If there is a lot of data search to be done, then Rover's algorithm can be used for better search. And if there is a lot of data, then yes, then there is a way to leverage, have your own program and run some aspects of that on a quantum computer and integrate in that manner.
So, like, is there any way that like we can reduce the GPU usage using the quantum?
Actually, we can't hear you. Can you please speak up?
अभी आ रही है? Now I'm getting.
No, it's very low volume.
Hello.
Yes.
So like I'm saying, so as of now, is there any way that we can reduce the GPU usage using the quantum computing?
Yes, that is what is being worked on to look at. So you must understand that quantum solutions are all in the prototype. Many of them are in the prototyping phase right now, and some cases the data is already being leveraged. I mean, the solutions are already working. But for each of that, the specific problem has to be identified. It's not possible like you do in AI is a very evolved area, and you can just go ahead and say, okay, use a certain existing program and you run it. A lot of open source programs are there. In quantum, there's a lot of optimization that needs to be done for a particular algorithm to run on a particular hardware. So if you have a specific problem, nobody will be able to give you a generic solution and say, go and pick up that program and run it. You will have to work with somebody who is a quantum application expert on a specific platform and try out your solution on different platforms to see where you are getting the most optimum solution. It is definitely possible, but the answer is a little bit uh, discovery based in terms of what is really going to work for your particular problem. And uh, I know we can, if you have any further questions, please feel free to drop an email to info@qetci.org. We'll try and connect you to the right people. Siddharth, over to you. I think you had started speaking. Sorry for that.
yeah, that's fine.
Could
That's fine,
yeah.
ma'am. So I'll just quickly give a background. So I'm a research associate of Indian Institute of Science currently, and working mostly on advanced aerial robotics. And I have a 10 years background of working specifically as explainable AI scientist. So there's a current work that I am working on. So it's there's something that I have even submitted a paper as well. So I'm trying to like build like a robotic avian inspired vehicle for multiple environments. So but then there is a catch to it. So I'm trying to like do like a biologically inspired. Okay, so that's why I've named it as Quantum Raven. And it has an AI integrated autonomous platform engineered to kind of navigate and perform missions in environments traditionally considered like which are inaccessible. So when I say inaccessible, it kind of includes GNSS denied zones, subterranean collapse sites, microgravity surfaces, submerged structures. So it kind of combines like a quantum enhanced sensing, so which are like into and also adding domain adaptive morphology and embedded autonomy to deliver mission resilience and across aerial, aquatic and terrestrial and extraterrestrial domain. So my question is, so rooted to the principles of avian magnetoreception and biomechanical adaptation, so what sort of quantum sensing integrates into a radical pair and NV center quantum sensors, which can be like used as an actuation and a multi-layered for AI or advanced AI decision stack. So could you just shed some light on this quantum class sensing, which would be like a fuses like classical sensors and IMU, sonar, thermal, and quantum enhanced sensors for robust navigations in GNSS, as I mentioned, denied conditions. So I've taken like three things out here. One is like NV center diamond magnetometry, which kind of provides like a nanotesla scale magnetic gradient mapping. I've also taken RPM compass, which is basically like a bio-inspired light activated heading sensor immune to polarity errors. And I've also taken a trust weighted fusion estimator, which kind of integrates this into a fused heading gradient map and also as a taking as a confidence score. I've detailed a little explained to you here because there is also a test bed.
So what's your question,
Yeah, so
Siddharth?
my question is related to this quantum class sensing. So would you be able to shed some light if there are certain applications that have already been done based upon NV center diamond
Yeah,
magnetometry?
yeah. So what you should do is go back to our YouTube channel and listen to the previous Pulse session, which was on GPS free navigation only. It was exclusively devoted to that.
Okay. Any of the panelists can just like shed some light on this.
That whole session was on GPS free navigation and what is existing right now, and what is there, what are the possibilities in the future. There are a couple of startups. Those startups were present in that session. I think this is the wrong group to be asking that question, I would say. But Adarsh, if you still want to add something, please do.
This is, I am not much aware about this. Envy Center, what I have heard people are using is one of the method to generate the this in quantum computing to generate the single photon. So that is all I'm aware. Like one group in
Yes.
IT Bombay is working for the generation of single photons using this Envy centers.
No, I think you should. I listened to that session because we in that session we've gone to the details of the various kind of technologies that could enable GPS free navigation, and what is required. Do you just need an accelerometer, or what all components are required, and which are the companies that are working on this? So I'll strongly recommend that. Justin, you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm Justin, a student currently doing this undergrad in second year. So my question was that what are the common mistakes students or professional make when entering this field? Like in quantum, what are the misconceptions and how can I avoid them? Was I audible?
Yes, a little bit. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm currently doing my undergrad in second year, and the question I had was, what are the common mistakes that students or professionals make when entering this field? Like
Okay.
when and the misconceptions, and how can I avoid them? Like there will be some advice for me.
Uh, so I can comment on this a little bit. A lot of students and a lot of professionals who start entering this field are driven by the name of quantum. So there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of fluff that comes with this name of quantum in space. But you need to be able to get rid of a lot of that and understand where your application or where your interest actually lies. So you actually do credible work, right? And a lot of people can throw quantum in names and throw quantum in any other field that they want to. But at the end of the day, when it boils down to the actual usage, there's very few. So for you to be able to choose what is the right area, find what you're good at, and how you can sort of progress quantum technologies or relevant technologies in that domain. So don't just follow the hype. See where you can actually make an impact on based on your skill sets or skill sets that you can gain.
I think it's a very good recommendation. And also, just to, from my side, if I can add, that when you start, you will not be working on the whole system. You will be specializing in one part and probably going deeper into that, right? Even when people pick up PhD topics in quantum is a vast space. They will pick up, if they're working on electronics, they'll pick up on optical communications, they'll pick up one very specific aspect of that. So you go really deep into that, right? And but then when you go out in the industry, you will have to, systems are not designed like that. It's a whole system. You have to work on the whole thing, right? So you have to clearly leverage all the other capabilities that you've learned if you're from the electronics background, and understand very quickly, learn on the job as well. So learning, it's a new area. As it is, if you're in technology, you are learning all the time, but you have to do accelerated learning in this space, I would say. And it's a great opportunity to learn if you get to work on real hardware. So yeah.
Yeah, that I'm looking for opportunities.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If there are no other questions, I will take this opportunity to thank my panelists. Thank you very much. I know Anindita has left, but thank you to her, Dr. Anindita Banerjee. And then thank you, Shreyans. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr.
ma'am.
Adarsh Jain. It was a great discussion, and thanks to everyone for joining. The recording for this will be uploaded on YouTube, and you will see a notification of that on our LinkedIn page. So if you're not following a LinkedIn page, please do. If you're not following a YouTube channel, please do. All the sessions that are happening are actually getting uploaded there, so that people who have not been able to watch it can watch it later. With that, we will wrap up for today. Thank you so much,
Thank
everyone.
you, ma'am.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.